Class is in session, so begins what I'm going to call the good old 101 class reviews. So pretty much these next several videos, I'm going to be going over the character classes in D&D campaign. So campaign, or I should say player's handbook. So I'm going to be drawn from the 2024 book because that's the most updated. Now the 2014 version of the 5th edition would be just as fine. So if you do have that iteration and you're still using it, then you can just kind of use what I'm saying and kind of in a sense reverse engineer it to the classes that are in that version. So I'm only using the latest version, so that way, because it's the most up-to-date information. So I'm going to go right through from the beginning to end in alphabetical order. So for instance, we pretty much start off with the good old barbarian. So now barbarian is one of your melee fighters, as my cat is, or I should say my druid is off trying to get attention and everything. So now, some of the core traits for the barbarian, and here he comes. We've got the druid. Yes, we're talking about the barbarian. Yeah, you think so? Yeah, we're going to get to the druid. Yeah, we're going to get to you soon enough. We've got to talk about the barbarian first. All right, go off. There you go. Yes. Yeah, you. Get going. All right, so back to the core traits as the druid made his appearance and everything. So, of course, like always, make sure you stick through the whole. Well, excuse me, as I'm coughing up a hairball. This damn druid. Stay to the end and everything, as always. So, the primary ability of the barbarian is strength and everything. So, you want to be nice, big, and strong and everything because, as the picture showcased, you're pretty much wielding an axe. You're pretty or you're one of the front line fighters. So, you go up and charge into battle. So that way, the enemies are kind of focused on you. Oh my god, here comes this big hulking war machine with an axe and everything. We better start him. So that's going to free up, in essence, the spellcasters that are pew 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 pew. They're fireballs and firebolts and stuff like that. So that's why their primary ability is strength. Now, you could do an alternate type of barbarian and base him on dexterity and everything, but you work with your DM, see the possibilities and everything. So the hit point dice for barbarian is a D12 per barbarian level. So often the case is and usually they written up is you max out the hit points at first level. So you're going to get the max of 12 plus your constitution modifier. So traditionally you want to have being the primary score of strength, you want to have high strength, and you also want a high constitution. So when you're wading into battle with strength, you're not going to be able to deal damage, but with high constitution, you're also going to be able to take the damage as well. So now, saving throw proficiencies, you get the proficiency bonus. It's for strength and constitution. So you get your skill proficiency, so you usually get to choose two, and so you get the animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. So now intimidation is a charisma based skill and everything, but you could in a sense tweak the rules. So in a sense, so you could take a pen right here, imagine a steel bar. You could say for intimidation, instead of charisma, you could use strength, and you could sit there and bend the steel bar to intimidate someone. So that's how you could in essence use your strength modifier instead of your charisma modifier to do an intimidation check. And that's why you probably want to take a skill like that and everything, but don't necessarily have to. Your weapon proficiencies are your simple and martial weapons, and so they're when you get into the fighter, you'll see that the fighter is a lot more versatile in their weapon and armor choice and everything. So because they have more training and stuff. So but for now, with the barbarian, it's just pretty much simple and martial weapons there, and their armor training is light, medium armor, and shields. And of course, fighter, they have more training with armor, so they get heavy, again because they've had more training and everything. But that we'll get into that with the fighter when we get there. So now, starting equipment, they have two choices. It's and they say choose A or B. So A is a great axe, 4 hand axes, explorer's pack, and 15 gold. or option B is like 75 gold, and you get to spend on what you want and everything. So the reason like choice A is like you have the great axe, the two-handed axe, like for instance, I'll showcase the picture again. Your primary melee weapon. Now they say four hand axes because like you could sit there and like strap your great axe to like a back and go in and battle with two hand axes. Or like the concept with that is like you're taking your hand axes and you're throwing them as you're entering combat, and then you pull out your great axe. So you get attacks with your hand axes before you enter into combat, or at least melee combat and everything. So now all the classes, they pretty much have like the uh, table where they show like the level, the proficiency bonuses, your skills, like as I pull this back, like your rages, your rage damage, and like weapon mastery. So for instance, pretty much like the proficiency bonus follows the same flow pretty much for every single class. You start off at +2, so like I mentioned, the save and throw, the proficiencies for save and throws here with like the uh, barbarian or strength and constitution. So you'd get that proficiency bonus. Like you start off at level 1 with like a +2. It works his way up to +3 at level 5. Then at like level 9, it goes up to +4. At level 13, it goes up to +5, and then finally at 17, you get the max at +6 and everything. So now we'll get into like the class features. So you start off with like a rage, unarmored defense, and weapon mastery. So weapon mastery, your training with the weapons allows you to use the mastery properties, two kinds of simple or martial melee weapons of your choice, such as great axes, and hand axes, like the choice of equipment and choice A and everything. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can practice weapon drills and change one of these weapon choices. When you reach certain barbarian levels, you gain the ability to use the mastery properties of more kinds of weapons, as shown in the weapon mastery column of the barbarian fight, fighters table, features table. So looking over this and everything, like the weapon mastery, like I'm not really seeing like a real quick like the weapon mastery. So like I'll have to get back to that and like maybe jump in the comment and like as I go back over this and everything. So like of course I'm kind of like fumbling over words now. So like going looking ahead to like of course we get into like the subclasses. That's the bard. So barbarian features table. So yeah, it doesn't really say. And of course I'm kind of like danger sense, reckless attack at level 2, barbarian subclass, primal knowledge at 3. 4 is the primal ability score improvement. 5 is extra attack, fast movement. 6 is subclass feature, feral instinct and instinctive pounce at 7. Ability score improvement at 8. Brutal strike at 9. Subclass feature at 10. Relentless rage at 11. Ability score improvement at 12. And subclass feature at 14. Persistent rage at 15. 16 is sub ability score improvement. Improved brutal strike 17. And then 18 is Indomitable Might, Epic Boon at 19, and Primal Champion at 20. And of course, like now I've like, oh yes, here it is. So the weapon mastery is actually over here and everything. So like, so you like it says, it starts off at like 2, and then at level 4 it goes up to 3, and then at 10 you get up to like a 4, and so that's the max you can get is 4. So like you can kind of switch them out. So like you typically, as you can see, you're starting off with like axes and stuff, but as you get up into later levels you can switch out like swords and stuff like that and everything, and gives you slightly more options and everything. So after going through all the class features and everything, kind of give like descriptions and everything. So I went over weapon mastery and I kind of fumbling through that and everything. So like I really haven't played like a barbarian myself. I've primarily played like fighters and like rogues and stuff like that. And like I did recently play like, a dwarven cleric about a year ago with the D&D group I was. We're kind of on hiatus, which kind of means that like yeah, we're probably not going to be getting back together anytime soon, unfortunately. So that kind of sucks. But I'm working on getting other people interested in getting on group and everything. So that's kind of what you have to do is like get to your local gaming store and kind of put it out there that you're a player looking for a group, or you're a DM looking for a group. And most gaming stores, if they have the option of being able to bring you in, if they have the space and time and everything, that'd be more than I'm sure they'd be more than accommodating to be like, oh hey, look, let's get a new D&D group and everything. Start getting more people in, especially if you're a DM and everything. So that's neither here nor there. So get back to the abilities, like with rage, like for instance, you can imbue yourself with the primal power called rage, a force that grants you extraordinary might and resilience. You can enter it as a bonus action if you aren't wearing heavy armor. You can enter rage the number of times shown for your barbarian level in the rage column of the barbarian features table. You regain each expanded use when you finish a short rest, and you regain all expanded uses when you finish a long rest. You gain one for short rest and all for long rest. So damage resistance, you have damage resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Rage damage, when you make an attack using strength with either a weapon or an unarmed strike and deal damage to the target, you gain a bonus to the damage increases as you gain levels as barbarian, as shown in the rage damage column of the barbarian feature table. Strength advantage, you have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. So that means like when you roll, you roll at advantage, which means you roll 2d20 and take the better of the two. So for instance, going to the extremes, you roll a nat 1 and a nat 20 on advantage. You take the nat 20 instead of like rolling one die. And when you roll nat 20, nat 1, oh well, you're screwed. That advantage with getting that nat 20, you got the instead you throw away the I'm screwed and you keep the you're screwed roll with the nat 20. And then like no concentrations or spells. You can't maintain concentration, you can't cast spells. So like unless you multi-class, you're not going to be casting spells as a barbarian or everything. So like now duration, the rage lasts until the end of your next turn and ends early if you don heavy armor or have the incapacitated condition. If your rage is still active on your next turn, you can extend the rage for another round by doing one of the following: make an attack roll against an enemy, force an enemy to make a saving throw, take a bonus action to extend your rage. Each time the rage is extended, it lasts until the end of your turn. You can maintain a rage for up to 10 minutes. Now, unarmed defense is like while you aren't wearing any armor, your base armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity and constitution modifiers. You can still use the shield and still gain this benefit. So, here it comes like the dexterity into play as well. So, like you're going to want at least somewhat of decent dexterity. So, the way you would, at least the way I would approach it is strength is your primary ability for the barbarian. I would put Constitution second, and then for your third ability, Dexterity. Now, most of the time, people would use intelligence as like your dump stat, meaning that you put like the lowest roll in your intelligence. And like I prefer more putting like charisma as a dump stat and everything. So like for instance, I'm gonna like kind of like a min max this and everything. So 18 strength, maybe like a 14 dexterity, 18 constitution, and then maybe like a 9 for intelligence and wisdom, and an 8 for charisma and everything. So like that unarmed defense, like you'd get +4 for your constitution, +2 for your dexterity. So there's +6. You could use a shield, so you could get an extra +1. So like basically all you're using for is a shield. You would have an AC of 17 with a base of 10 and everything. So that's level 1. Then at like level 2, you get danger sense and uncanny sense of when things aren't as they should be, giving you an edge when you dodge perils. You have an advantage on dexterity saving throws, and unless you have the incapacitated condition. So at level 2 now you get advantage on dexterity saving throws. So like using that 14 dexterity, you get a +2, and you roll the 2d20, taking the better of the two. I'm going to use the nat 1, nat 20 example. So chuck out the nat 1, and then you roll a nat 20, and you get a 22, and boom, you're good to go. So reckless attack is like you can throw aside all concern for defense attack with increased ferocity. When you make your first attack roll on your turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you an advantage on attack rolls using strength until the start of your next turn, but attack rolls against you have advantage during that turn. So it's a trade-off. You get advantage at your for your attacks, but your opponents get advantage for their attacks as well. Then, like at level 3, you get the barbarian subclass, and I'll go over that pretty soon. So once I get to further along with the subclasses, so level 3, you also get primal knowledge, so you gain proficiency in another skill of your choice from the skill list available to barbarian at level 1. So you're gaining another, in a sense, another ability. So at level 4, ability score improvement. So you can do at this at level 4, 8, 12, and 6. So it's one of those things where you can do it doesn't necessarily say it says gain the ability score improvement feat, and often people can double check this, but off the top of my head I want to say it's like the usual +2 to 1 ability or +1 to 2 abilities. So for instance, using the 18, 14, and 18 for strength, dex, and con, what I could do at level 4 is I could maybe bump my strength up to 20 and move that modifier up from a +4 to +5, or I could probably do strength and con, at, bump both those up to 19, and then when I get to level 18, bump both those back up to 20 or anything. Or like I said, I could bump strength up this time to 20, and then at level 8, bump my con up to 20, and then at 12 and 16, what I would personally what I would do is I would bump up my dexterity 4 points at 12 and 16. So I would go from a 14 up to an 18 at level 16. That's just me, but you could theoretically, okay, I've used my dump stats for intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. I could maybe at 12 and 16 start bumping those up, so I'm not taking a -1 to rolls and everything. But teach his own. So level 5, you get the extra attack, kind of self-explanatory, and fast movement, an extra 10 feet. So most medium characters move 30 feet, so you'd move 40 feet instead. Level 6 is the subclass feature, and so we'll go over those real quick when I go over the subclasses. 7 is the feral instinct, so you have advantage on initiative rolls. So now you can see when you entering combat using the nat 1 and nat 20 again, you go from nat 1, screw me, I'm going last, to nat 20, screw you, I'm going first. And then you can see how you can rage and start beating up the people before they even can react or whatever. So 7, you also get an instinctive pounce. Is as part of the bonus action you take to enter your rage, you can move up to half your speed and everything. So for instance, you're already moving 40 feet, so you could, as a part of your bonus action, move 20 feet as part of that and everything. So level 9 is brutal strike. So this is if you use reckless attack, you can forego any advantage roll on one strength-based attack roll of your choice on your turn. The chosen attack roll mustn't have disadvantage. If the chosen attack roll hits, the target takes an extra 1d10 damage of the same type dealt by the weapon or unarmed strike, and you can cause the brutal strike effect of your choice. You have the following effect options. So forceful blow, you push them back 15 feet. Hamstring blow, this target speed is reduced by 15 feet. So now we move on to level 11, Relentless Rage. So your rage, you can keep fighting despite grievous wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points while your rage is active and don't die outright, you can make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, your points instead change to a number equal to twice your barbarian level. So for instance, level 11, twice your barbarian level, that'd be 22. Each time you use this feature after the first, the DC increases by 5. When you finish a short and long rest, this DC resets to 10. So for instance, if you were to use that a second time, it would go bump up to 15. Third time, it would bump up to 20, so on and so forth. So level 12 is the improved brutal strike. You have honed new ways to attack ferociously. The following effects are now among your Brutal Strike options. So it opens up like our Brutal Strike ability that we got at level 9. At level 13 is improved Brutal Strike. So we get Stagger and Blow and Sunder and Blow. I'll just mention those real quick to kind of help save time and move through this and everything. So level 15, Persistent Rage. When you roll initiative, you can regain extended uses of Rage. At level 17, you gain improved Brutal Strike. So, the extra damage Brutal Strike increases to 2d10. And then level 18, Indomitable Might. If your total for a strength check or strength saving throw is less than your strength score, you can use that score in place of the total. 19 is Epic Boon. You get the Epic Boon feat in like you can see in Chapter 5, or another feat of your choice for whichever you qualify. And then at 20, Primal Champion. You embody primal power. Your strength and constitution scores increase by 4 to a maximum of 25. So the example I used, for instance, like you did with me, you bumped both constitution and strength up to 20. You can now bump those up each plus 4. So like you're now having like a strength of 24 and a constitution of 24. So now we get into like the different subclasses. So I'll just like mention these real quick. So like and I'll showcase the pictures and stuff. I'll quickly go down the abilities. So like we got the Barbarian subclasses. Path of the Berserker. So like at level 3 you get Frenzy. Level 6 you get Mindless Rage. Level 10 Retaliation. Level 14 Intimidating Presence. So that's this one, and now we go over this one right here, the nice pictures and stuff. And that's the path. The second one is Path of the Wild Heart. So, level 3 is Animal Speaker. Level 3 is Rage of the Wilds. 6 is Aspect of the Wilds. 10 is Nature Speaker. Level 14 is Power of the Wilds. Now we get into 2 more. So, like, first off, we'll go over this one, and then we'll go over this one. And so this is kind of nice. You get pictures, so you can kind of get like at least like a visual, at least a generic visual on what each of these subclasses is. So first is the Path of the World Tree. So what comes to mind is like a Nordic mythology, and you follow the path of like the World Tree of Yggdrasil. Level 3 is Vitality of the Tree. 6 is Branches of the Tree. 10 is Battered Roots, and 14 is Travel along the Tree. Next, we go over the Path of the Zealot. Level 3 is Divine Fury. You also at level 3 you get Warrior of the Gods. Level 6 is Fanatical Focus. Level 10 is Zealous Presence. And at 14 you get Rage of the Gods. And so that is pretty much how we go through the Barbarian. And so now I just kind of quickly mentioned the subclasses and everything. So then there are more subclasses in like the optional books and everything. Like you'll be able to find like you'd have to like actually look at the books, and you can go back into like the videos I've done them. But like there's like Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There's like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and like as I'm looking back at them, so like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There's Monsters of the Multiverse, and then you got Volo's Guide to Monsters and everything. So you can quite possibly find stuff in that like as well for different options. So that's why I say like those books are great to expand your campaign and everything. But of course, I'm always big on saying that like this is pretty much all you need, unless like you can see like the starter set right here, the red box right there, the starter set. You can get away with that like as well. And like if you're brand new and only want to spend like $50 and everything, because you're looking at like $50 for this book, and then like another for the another $100 for like the DM guide and the monster manual. So this is why I usually say, hey, look, dip your toes into it with like the starter box right over here. Or if you just like, hey, look, I want to really get into this and start off with the player's handbook, go for it. So like you couldn't go wrong with either one and everything. So now again, of course, this is the 2024, so like it's akin to like a 5.5 edition. It's updated from the 2014 rules when 5th edition first came out and everything. So I'm going to be using this the rest of the for the rest of the classes as well. So now, of course, I'm always going to have to mention that the best way to like at the end of every video, I'm going to mention that the coffee and tea and everything that you can get with the link in the description is the best way that you can help support this channel. So that way I can quite possibly get more equipment, more source material and everything, so that way I can be able to go over even more stuff for you, so that way you can learn even more about how to play D&D and everything. So next time we go into next class in alphabetical order is everyone's favorite minstrel, good old Bard.